When the server first began, I immediately ran to get wood, but that's when I saw another player, OBX01. Me and him are the two best PvPers on the server. He knocked me in a ravine almost immediately, which is why I assumed he was trying to kill me early on to stay ahead of me progression-wise. When I got out of the ravine, I immediately started work on getting some wood again. But he kept following me until I pushed him into a ravine. I ran off and started to make tools out of wood and then quickly progressed to stone. I then started gathering food, and I found some iron on top of a mountain, although I decided to avoid going mining for now. I then began to gather more food and sugarcane, and I found a village. I then decided to chop down trees to gather sticks to trade for emeralds with villagers. I would then trade these emeralds for food in the form of golden carrots. I then headed to spawn where I had agreed to meet OBX. We had agreed to show each other our bases to keep up on both of our progress. I found that he was in full diamond and had cobwebs while I had no helmet and only a diamond boots and axe. First we headed north upriver from spawn to his village. Then I took him south to my base, although he left fairly quickly when we got there. When we got there, I saw that many of my trees had grown. I began to set up an enchantment table. I then set up a portal and found a fortress almost immediately. After I had killed enough blazes, I went mining for iron to make an anvil. I also found some diamonds while I was there. When I got a silk touch pickaxe, I decided to go to the nether and mine gold. This would be useful as I could turn them into golden apples. I made 17, which was enough to survive a short fight. However, at this point, OBX probably had potions. I then went back to trading sticks before exploring to find a mesa, which would supply me with even more gold for more golden apples. In the end, I finally got to a stack of golden apples, which is the cap on the server per fight. This would allow me to consistently fight, even though I was likely outgeared. OBX then visited my base again and saw my huge progress. I was now in almost full diamond armor. Then we started fighting, and my fire aspects and cobwebs were crucial in winning. However, once he returned, he once again started fighting me, and even got me headwebbed with no water. He then ran away and I decided to chase him until I saw my helmet's durability. After a few more hours of chopping trees, I decided to move my base so OBX wouldn't hunt me down again. I found a new village a bit further from spawn, and set up an area to hold villagers temporarily. I then used water to push the villagers into the holding area. I then started mining so I could create my base underground. I used water to funnel the villagers down the staircase. I set up a cleric so I could trade emeralds for ender pearls and XP bottles, which are useful in PvP. I then started to chop tall spruce trees, which would provide me with more wood for sticks than the oak trees were previously. I then got almost god armor, especially my boots and helmet, which now both had prop 4 and breaking 3 and mending, along with other enchants. I then tried trading stone to a mason villager for emeralds, but it was less efficient than trading sticks to a fletcher. So I continued to chop down spruce trees for sticks. I then went back to the nether to get magma cream, which is a useful ingredient as you can use it for fire res potions. I then decided to brew strength potions, speed potions, and fire res potions, which would be useful in PvP. I then decided to go exploring to make a turtle farm. This is because turtle master potions make you almost invincible for a short period. When I found turtles on a beach, I decided to fence them in. I then dug a hole in the corner so I could eventually move them underground. When I was underground, I began to set up a turtle farm. When I was ready, I used trapdoors and water to encourage the turtles to fall down. By this point I had almost a full PvP kit, except I was still carrying 2 swords and had no XP. I then decided to enchant a shield, as shield PvP is one of my main advantages over OBX. I then went back to trading sticks, before AFKing at the turtle farm for a few hours. I then went to fight OBX at his base, however the fight started very badly for me, as I hadn't pre-gapped and had no saturation. I pulled away to sort out my inventory. I then turned this into a cave fight. I won, but as his spawn point was at his base, he quickly came back to fight me. tried to run, but I chased him down through the caves. I then went back to my base and brewed more potions. I traded emeralds for XP bottles to repair my now severely damaged armor. I went to chop trees at spawn since I could clear out the area and get emeralds at the same time. Then, OBXO1 showed up and instantly started critting me out, and I was completely unprepared. I won, but he quickly came back. After he died, he came back, as expected by now, and I tried to escape. Yes, he died to my fire aspect, and yes, he came back again. And there it was. I had successfully won or escaped every fight for the first 3 days of the server. But that would all change very quickly.